Hi, guys. So I'm just starting up now. I know there will be some people joining in a minute. Let me fix the camera there. We are going to start in just a sec. I'm going to get my other stream up here and make sure we're ready to go. There we are. And get my mic ready. Can you hear me if you were already in? And is that thing making too much noise? Hold on, I'm trying to get the mic stable. Sometimes it acts funny. Hopefully that will work. Hope you guys are all having a good Saturday. I am. Oh, there we go. No lay, however. Noisy. Yeah, that was me moving the stuff around. Is it still bad? Let me know if that's still a problem. And I need to make one change to the stuff I started here. Welcome to those who are joining us. Did I put it in? I don't know. Here we go. Hey, Terry. The phone is actually already off on sound because I don't want it on. I've already turned the ringer off. I've turned the volume off, so that should be okay. And you should just be getting me here from the mic. Let me turn the mic around. Is that any better? You got a little bit of buzzing. You got buzz? That's very good. Maybe because this wire is touching that wire. Let's try that. Still buzzing? Still buzzing or no? Just checking. I will move the phone farther away. I've never actually put it on silent, so I mean on do not disturb ever. If you've not gotten buzzing before, that should not be it. But there are other kind of cables plugged in, so if it keeps up, just like let me know in another couple minutes. But I don't want to kind of hold up what we're talking about here. So. In the continuing series of how would Michelle plan for, and yes, this is Michelle. For those of you, I realize I post as PTB grad. And there you go. You're right. Siri wants to talk to me. We do not want to talk to Siri. Give me a second. I'm not. See, Drew, you do all the do not disturby stuff. Oh, good. That's great. That's very hard. Pardon me a second. Is my phone disconnected? Reconnected. Let's do that. That's easier. And settings. And I have do not disturb. There we go. Let's turn it on. Okay, good. So I should still be able to watch. Pardon the issue here, guys. I apologize for that. Let's go back. There we go. Nope, that's not current. I want to make sure I'm current on this. And I want to close this up because it's in the way of me seeing what you guys are doing. Control. I got there. Oh, well, I never did do not disturb before, and I don't think it was an issue, but hey, you never know. And why am I not seeing my... There we go. Okay. I'm trying the chat sideways. We'll see if that's any better or worse. No guarantee. All right, so how's everybody's Saturday going? Hope... My apologies. The mic just fell because I'm fighting the stupid other stuff. So my apologies. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, so now you should not hear stupid noise. Let me set this back. Lots of technical difficulties today. Woo! Live, please. Thank you. All right, so in the continuing saga of how would Michelle plan, the topic this week and next week is probably going to be how would I plan for people who want to see all the new stuff. They might have some love of the old stuff, but they want to get all the new stuff. But this week, we're going to talk about the people who love the classics. They want to go to those rides, those tried and trues, the ones that always made them happy as a child or what they remember. But they might want to see a couple of the new things, but that's not what their priority is. They want to make sure they do the traditional stuff. Now, this is going to, again, be a little more Disney focused because Disney has been around longer when you talk about Disneyland versus Universal. But we're gonna set this up as a similar trip as with all of them. It's 7 days, getting in as early as you can on the first day and leaving as late as you can on the last day. This is going to be uh, a 2-day Universal, 5-day Disney, and I am going to recommend a park hopper, although you could potentially do this setup without a park hopper if you wanted to save some money. But, well, no, let me take that back. Nope, you need a park hopper for this one. You're going to need a park hopper for this trip. Just because Magic Kingdom is the core of classic rides. That is the closest to Disneyland. That's where you get the rides that are the most similar to what was created back in the 50s by Disney or wait, I'm going to have my years wrong. No, 50s for Disney and 71 for Disney World. They're the traditionals, the classics. So we're going to start and we're going to get in as early as we can on that first day. And again, flying in from Baltimore, you take that 6 a.m. flight, you land at 8:30. You can be in the parks by 10:30, whether you go to rent a car and go directly to the parks, or if you go check in at a resort and do the Magical Express and can jump on a bus from your hotel, you're looking at being able to get there 10:30. So that's where my game plan starts. Hello, whoever else just joined us, because it looks like there's 4 of us. Nope, there's only 3 of us now. There's okay. So when you talk classics, when you talk tradition, you're talking Magic Kingdom. So first day off the bat, that's where we're going to head. So we're going to start you in Magic Kingdom. And what is more classic than going to say hi to Mickey? So the first thing you're going to do when you're setting up your schedule is I would set up a meet and greet for Mickey at the earliest time that you can, which would be about 10:30. And the fast pass blocks are usually an hour. It'll take, depending on the ride you do, it could get you through the ride in 15 minutes. It could get you in the ride in 45 minutes to an hour, but it is always going to be slower or faster than if you had to stand in the real line, where the real line could be, 2 hours. You're going to be able to get through in 45 minutes kind of thing, or even longer. So we're starting with that meet and greet with Mickey down. You're going to walk into the Magic Kingdom. You see the train, which is not running right now, on top of you. And then you're going to go in and you are going to go hit Town Hall and go see Mickey. And I'm going to have you fast pass this one because this is usually one of the longer waits because it's Mickey. So you're going to go say hi. Now, a few years ago, Mickey talked, and that was really exciting. But I guess they had some problems with him saying the right things at the right times or being able to control that. I don't know how it all works. But I can tell you that they're not doing it right now. So it's back to a traditional silent Mickey, and that's fine. So you're going to go meet him. And that's going to take you to about 10:30 to 11:30. At that point, you've been traveling. I'm going to recommend actually that we do a really early lunch. And if we're talking classics, I'm going to recommend the Liberty Tree Tavern. Liberty Tree Tavern is a stick to your ribs kind of food. It's a pot roast. It's salads. There was a cheese, like a goat cheese and cranberry nut salad. Drew got one time. I remember getting the pot roast. In the evenings when they do dinner, it's every night is Thanksgiving. It's turkey and stuffing and all of the traditional stuff. You have to ask for cranberry sauce. That doesn't come automatically, but they do have it. So after you do your very, very traditional, thank you for the likes, people. I appreciate that. Oh, no, never mind. Nobody liked. I'm sorry. I thought you liked. I saw the thumb up in my eyeballs and not what they used to be. So you're going to, yeah, it's really good. It's really yummy food, Terry. It really is. We did lunch there, and lunch is a more traditional menu where you have a bunch of stuff to choose from. Dinner is family style Thanksgiving, and they do a sticky toffee pudding, which I can't have, but I've been told is kind of amazing. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend the food there. If I wasn't doing a Jungle Skipper canteen, that's my second choice. So you go and do that, have your traditional meal for lunch, so you have a little more variety to choose from. And then we're going to go start hitting some more rides. Now, immediately after eating, especially that kind of stick to your ribs food, we're going to send you to something that doesn't bounce you around too much. And while you're in Liberty Square, I say we go to Haunted Mansion. We get a fast pass. So lunch, I'm figuring you're going to do at 12. Haunted Mansion, because you give yourself about 2 hours, we're going to schedule for a 2 o'clock fast pass. Now, I would recommend if you don't get the exact 2 o'clock is to go a little earlier. Because remember, all you have to do is show up within 1 hour. You want to give yourself an hour and a half to 2 hours for lunch so you're not rushed and you have time to pay your bill and you're not panicking and you can enjoy it. But an hour and a half means you still have a half an hour to get out of there, or 2 hour block really. So I would say, schedule your fast pass for 1:30, 1:45, and you'll probably get there at 2. After Haunted Mansion, We're going to go to our next classic, and that's going to be Pirates of the Caribbean. And again, I'm going to recommend you fast pass it. If you don't want to do Pirates that day, we can save it for another day, and then you can do Jungle Cruise that day. But it's one of those two in that Adventureland area. You got a lot of your really good traditionals there. We do that Pirates of the Caribbean again because they're hour blocks, close to around 3 o'clock. After you finish that, if you've got time, and I'm thinking you will, we're talking classics and the old core stuff, we're going to send you up the Swiss Family Robinson tree. This does not require a fast pass. It's just a walk up, and you're walking up. It's not disably friendly. You walk through what would have been like the movie and the Swiss Family Robinson. You see how they would have lived, and you walk back down the big tall tree. And it's fun, but it's definitely, you have to be able to do stairs. I'm going to recommend this early in the trip because as the trip progresses, you're going to get more and more tired. Oh, thank you for the real like. And yeah, you want to give yourself a little more, go for the gusto today because you will feel it later as the trip progresses. Because this one does not have a whole lot of downtime, unfortunately. So after we do the Swiss Family Robinson, then we're going to do, I'm figuring that's going to take you to, then you're going to go across the street and you're going to do the next very traditional classic ride. Generally not much of a wait, but it's the Tiki Room. In the Tiki Room. I know this is Drew's favorite. This is going to get you in. My problem is that I love the vomit-inducing rides. You will get on some of those rides. Now, more Epcot-ish, but the classic stuff over at Disney, while your stomach might lurch a little bit, even on the roller coasters, and I've got a bunch of those in there because they're classics, they're not necessarily going to flip you in that kind of way. But we're going to I try to space them out so that you won't actually induce removing stuff from your stomach through your esophagus and out your mouth. Was that the polite way to say it? I hope so. So Swiss Family Robinson and then the Tiki Room, and that's going to take you to about 5:30-ish is my guess, if you're not rushing too much. From there, we're going to do something I would not normally do. We're going to do quick service because, again, you start talking more traditional stuff, we're going to want to do some quick service. There are two options here. I'm going to recommend the one I've been to, which is Pecos Bill, which is Mexican. It's tacos, it's rice bowls. They have a really great fixins bar for the tacos. They used to allow you to do guacamole, but now you have to pay for the guacamole. But they have cheese and a corn salsa and tomatoes and lettuce and all this kind of fun stuff. I've done it on top of other food like a bowl rather than on nachos instead of just on the tacos. I don't know how strict they are because that was part of a tour. The other place I would recommend if you do like seafood or more that kind of traditional stuff is the Columbia Harbor House. I've heard raves about the chicken pot pie. I believe they have fried fish, a number of other items. This is quick service. So what you're going to do is you're going to go onto your phone. You're going to do mobile ordering where you pre-pick what you want. Then when you get to the restaurant, you just click, I'm here, and they make up your food. And it saves you from standing in line and dealing with a lot of the problems. They used to not have the allergy options, the food options, so you'd still have to see a chef. They are now starting to offer the ability to order the allergy-free or options, the egg-free, the gluten-free, etc. And you can go down to that section on the menu and then pick the ones that fit within it, which then is going to allow them to know that you've got the allergen and for you to be able to not be at risk for it. So after we finish lunch at either Pecos Bill, or dinner, excuse me, at either Pecos Bill or Columbia Harbor House, then we're going to go head over to Splash Mountain. Again, it's classic. It is a log flume ride with 140-foot drop at the end, I believe. That's a pretty steep drop, and that's where your picture gets taken. And then there's another section of ride after that. Again, this is not someone I would normally do. I may actually be attempting it again in June because the people I'm going with like a mix of what's truly new and I love the classics. So we may go and try that one. After we do Splash Mountain, and that one I do not have as fast passing because we're looking at going 6:37, where you're going to start to see a change in the crowd. And my hope is that your line will not be too horrible. Now, the only caveat to this is if it is cold out, skip this one and only do it during the day when it's brighter out. Because even if you're protected, if they don't turn the water up high, you still have a chance of getting wet, and you don't want to do that right as it's getting dark. But if it is a warm day, especially if it's a hot summer day like what we've been coming into now, yeah, go ahead and do that, because then you'll just air dry at night. You won't necessarily be steaming from the sun, but you'll dry off. After Splash Mountain, then I've got sort of a low key block of time where you can fill in any of the rides that you want within that area, if you can grab another fast pass. But I haven't planned anything specific. What I do want to make sure you do, though, is this is the night you'll see the fireworks. And right now it's Happily Ever After. They normally run at about 9 o'clock at night. And again, this is where you start talking Disney. You're talking, this is a classic option. So depending on what you want to get out of the fireworks is going to change where you go. If you want the whole experience, then you need to be in front of the castle. What we have you done probably around 7:45 to 8 o'clock from finishing Splash Mountain, which means you're going to then immediately go to the hub, which is that center of the spike where all the lands come off of, and you're going to sit there and you're going to wait for the fireworks and hang out in the street. And remember, you can be a little farther back from where you really want to be, because when everyone stands up, they all start moving forward, which means you'll get closer to what you want as that happens. So don't be in the exact spot, be a little bit farther back. If you can find an actual place to sit, hey, more power to you. We stay for the fireworks. Fireworks are at 9 o'clock to about 9:30. After the if that is not the option, if you don't need to see the projections with the show, if you've seen them before, if that's not a big deal, there are two other places you can go. One of them, have I talked about it later? Let me just check something real fast. I kind of have, kind of not. If you don't need to see the projections, there are two spaces you can go. The first is going to be going to behind the castle, behind the Cinderella Castle area. Around It's a Small World and that whole strip in Fantasyland, because you'll see the fireworks in front of you and you will see them behind you. A slightly better visual spot is if you get closer to Be Our Guest Restaurant. If you manage to eat at Be Our Guest Restaurant at dinner and can time it so your dinner ends right about when the fireworks are, that's gorgeous. Yes, and Julie is here, so everyone can say hello to each other on the side comments while I'm chatting. Sorry, side comments over here for you guys. So the fireworks there, because they happen directly behind Beast's castle and behind Cinderella's castle, you literally could just keep spinning and seeing fireworks in every direction. They surround you. And that's, like I said, what you get a little bit with us in your Small World, but it's even more intensive when you're Be Our Guest and there's more airspace around you when you really start to take that in. It is one of my favorite places. All my times in the parks, I have never seen the classic fireworks at the castle. We've always seen them because they are visible from all over, right? Okay. Oh, so you've never done the crush in front. Yeah. I mean, and the projection show is beautiful. And the music is lovely and it goes with it. I'm not into that crush. That's me personally. But if I'm with someone who's a true classic lover, yeah, I probably would go and kill the time, especially on that first day, because then you can just sit and chill after the eating and drying off from the one ride and kind of catching up on the day and what you want to do to be able to do that. After the fireworks are over, one other option of what you can do during the fireworks. If you don't need to be at the stage, the other place I have heard recommended is to be on Big Thunder Mountain. So if you fast pass Big Thunder Mountain, try to fast pass it at least 15 to 20 minutes earlier, or look at how long the wait time is if you want to walk up to it and see how long that is, and see if it'll time you out to get onto the ride while the fireworks are going. Because when you're going over the hills and you're cresting through stuff and the fireworks are going off, it's another beautiful option. After the fireworks are over, then I'm going to send you, while everyone else is like fish swimming upstream and heading out Main Street, I'm going to send you in the opposite direction. I don't think you can walk through the castle at that moment, though I do recommend you doing that toward the end of the night on your way out. But if you go out and around past the teacups ride, I didn't put the teacups on, because they make me ill, and I didn't even think of it. But the teacups are another classic. You probably want to try to find an option to put in. I would probably only add that to the list if someone really wanted them. But it is a classic. It's absolutely a classic. And that was a mistake on my planning. I did this without actually looking at my maps. I did a lot of this going, what's in this section? What's in this section? So I may have missed some. But if the park closes, if the fireworks are at 9, they go to 9:20. and the park closes at 10, so you've got another 40 minutes to pick up a ride or two. If the park closes at 11 or 12, you got a lot more time to pick up those other rides. So I am going to recommend you head toward the back. At that point, yeah, you could probably walk onto the teacups. You could also go all the way to the very back and go to Dumbo and start on Dumbo, and then slowly kind of make your way forward, because Dumbo's at the very, very far back of the corner, in that corner of the parks. But then you can slowly work your way in. As long as you are in line by 1 minute before the park actually closes, you will get to ride the ride that you get in line for. So that's generally what I would recommend for that. Now, again, some of the less fancy rides, some of the less popular rides, which are the classics. I love the teacups. The Dormouse is very cute. You are correct. It just, I get sick to my stomach, which is the only reason why I didn't think of it, and that was my fault when I was originally planning. But yeah, so just slowly make your way forward. I don't think people consider Barnstormer a classic per se, although it is a good kids roller coaster. Again, like a kids roller coaster, it's a little bit rougher than a standard roller coaster because the turns are tighter; they're a little more intense. But you could absolutely do that. But if you have the ability, after you've made your 3 fast passes and you've signed in with your Magic Band for the last of the 3 fast passes, you can start booking more fast passes. So you could potentially save one of these 4 right after the fireworks. The big rides, all the mountains, Space, Splash, Big Thunder, and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train all disappear pretty quickly throughout the day, but you've got that option to do more. But I say Dumbo, I say teacups, slowly make your way out and hit a couple of those classics and take your time. The park will close say it closes at 10 o'clock. And you get in a ride at 9:59, and the line's not long. You could be out of there by 10:30. The park will continue to do the kiss goodnight at the castle. I think it's every 15 minutes, and it will go for at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If you don't leave until, like, park closes at 10 and you're not walking out till 11, that's okay. I've seen vloggers that take long photographs, and they take time while the park's emptying out to take some nice pictures. They'll start moving you forward, but not quickly. Also, that's a good time to go shopping and hit some of the main street shops as you're making your way out, because they will stay open for a significant amount of time after the park technically closes. So you're going to finish out probably, I have this assuming that it's a 10 o'clock or 10:15 close, 10 or 11 close, but slowly make your way out and head back to your car or head back to your hotel through the bus system or the monorail. And that's the end of your first day. One day, a whole bunch of classic rides that you'll be able to do in that first day. Day 2 is going to be our Epcot day. I'm going to do, again, classic is a very interesting term, because classic to some people is, if it doesn't exist in Disneyland, it's not classic. And to other people, if it's been since the 1980s, it's classic. And if it's since the 90s, it's classic, because it depends on your own age. So the rides that have been around long enough that someone might have an emotional meaning to me is what they're usually asking for classic. So we're going to go, and we're going to be there at rope drop, assuming the park opens at 9 a.m. at Epcot. You're going to immediately if it's not raining, you immediately head over to Test Track and go through Test Track. You're going to leave Test Track, and we're going to go a little bit newer, and we're going to go over to Mission Space. If, Terry, you like the rides that make you sick to your stomach, no, Julie, is it Julie or Terry? One of you said you like the rides that make you want to puke. I think it was Terry. Yeah, Terry. So Terry, you're then going to go to Mission Space. You're going to want the orange version. I go in the green version because I don't like to get sick to my stomach. But you also probably haven't had much of a huge breakfast at this point, so you're going to get less sick. So you're going to get on the ride. I'm convinced I'm still not too old for that. Yeah. Oh, no, you're absolutely not. Kid at heart means you can do anything here. So you're going to get on the pukable version, which is the orange version, which gives you G-forces and spins you upside down. And you're going to be landing on Mars. And people like me are going to do the one where you still get some G-forces, but it's just like you were, excuse me, circling the Earth. Pardon me as I get up there. After that, we're going to do our first fast pass. You'll notice those first 2 rides, just making you stand in line and walk on. Because if you get there at rope drop, You can do both of those without a problem. At Epcot, you can only fast pass one of 3 rides in their top tier and then 2 of the other tier. Soarin', Frozen, and Test Track. Out of all of those, Test Track is the oldest, so that's the one. That's one. Then Soarin', then Frozen Ever After. Frozen Ever After, while I would call it a classic dark ride, is not a classic ride. So that's not on the top of the tier of this list. So we're going to walk you on Test Track. We're going to walk you on Mission Space, and we're going to, at 10 o'clock, set your first fast pass for Spaceship Earth. And that's the big golf ball. Now, caveat to this. Very soon, and I don't know when very soon is, because they are totally redoing Epcot and the whole front area. They're pulling up where your name plaques used to be. They're going to put them outside the gate for people to look at. And you are not going to be able to go to Spaceship Earth for 2 years, because when they close it to update it, they will be closing that ride for 2 years. So if you're going soon, get on it to see what the classic version was. We're going to lose Judi Dench, probably. Poor old Dame Judy, who's been the voice for so many years. And it's going to be a different ride when it reopens in 2 years. So, Spaceship Earth. Now, if Spaceship Earth doesn't exist, some of this stuff would vamp around it. But we're going with that for now. The next thing I'm going to do after you finish Spaceship Earth is I'm going to send you over to the Seas with Nemo. And if you do like the classical traditional rides... I know the Test Track has been revamped, Drew, and it's like a Tron version versus being a Test Track dummy. And I personally love the Test Track dummy version. The Tron version is okay, but it is still the same track. And if someone has been to the original, it's at least a chance for them to kind of go through the same physical stuff. But yes, you're right. It is not a true classic. But not if all you're going to do is only go on just classic rides for the entire trip, you could get through stuff a hell of a lot faster, and you pretty much spend your entire day in Magic Kingdom. In fact, your entire trip, you would probably stay in Magic Kingdom. World of Motion doesn't exist anymore, but we will talk about that in a minute. Okay, so we'll go to Nemo and Friends, because that's been around for a chunk of time now. It's not my favorite ride. It's a little dark ride. If you're there early enough in the day, it shouldn't be too long of a wait. So I would recommend giving that a try. Then we're going to do our second fast pass, and that's going to be for Soarin'. Again, not an original classic, and it has been revamped since the original version, but it is a nice, comfortable moving and high-end ride, and it is more classic than Frozen is. So between the 3, because we've already walked on Test Track, I'm going to give us Soarin'. After we finish that, then we're going to go to what I consider the only true classic ride in all of Epcot, the Imagination Ride with Figment. Even that has been revamped from its original version. You don't have Dreamfinder. You don't have some of the stuff that you started with when we first watched this ride as kids. But that's going to be your best option at this point. So we're going to do a fast pass. We're not going to fast pass, because if Figment gets a 45-minute line, even with that, you're still going to be out within an hour. And that means the park is insanely busy, because it rarely, if ever, gets crowded. It's just not well loved anymore. Again, I understand that, but we're in Epcot for a good chunk of time. And if I'm literally just going to classic rides, we wouldn't go to Epcot. We wouldn't go to Animal Kingdom, and we wouldn't go to Hollywood Studios. We would spend 5 days in Magic Kingdom, because that is the only classic. But for somebody who was born in the 80s, when you and I were already in high school, Imagination is a classic ride. Some of the stuff over at the Spaceship Earth is a classic ride, because they are the core to the base of what that park is. So I'm going with that. I just am. We're going to be in Magic Kingdom a lot for this trip. Maybe the boat ride in the land. Oh, that is true. Living with the Land. And actually, after Soarin', we will probably walk on, because you usually can walk on to Living with the Land before we head over to Imagination. But Imagination is still going to be closer to a classic. And yeah, it will break their heart to go, where's Dreamfinder? But even I don't remember. I didn't get to see it when Dreamfinder existed. It was after my time. After the Imagination ride, you're going to want to chill for a little bit and kind of be out of the heat if you're out in the summer heat. So while it's not classic, we're going to go and do the sit down of the Pixar movies, because generally it's not a long wait, but it's going to give you a little bit of a relaxed time. And who doesn't love a good Pixar short? We're going to leave there, and we're going to head over into the countries, and we're going to over to Mexico to the Three Caballeros. which, while the ride itself has been revamped a few times and is not what originally opened in Epcot, it's the Three Caballeros, which is a movie from 1940s, 1950s. So by that token, the characters are classic. It's a cute little ride. You get to sit and watch fireworks go off. There's traditional animatronics, and it's all fun. Yeah, Captain EO was the first 3D movie, I believe, Julie. And oh, was there a longer conversation? Captain EO was a replacement for Michael Jackson, right? This Disney does. Actually, no, because they actually brought it back probably about right after Michael Jackson passed away. They brought it back out, and I got to watch it then because I hadn't seen it in the 80s. Captain EO is Michael Jackson. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so you guys you got your conversation there. So yeah, so we're in Mexico. We're doing the Three Caballeros. After the Caballeros, we're looking at it probably being about 4 o'clock at this point, and you're going to do some country wandering, just seeing what's there, looking at some of the original countries, looking at some of the history there, and enjoying what you want to see until we get ready to do dinner. Now, if we're talking classic-ish, there's nothing truly classic in terms of the food places. But I'm going to say the closest for somebody who would want classics is to meet princesses or to meet characters. And Akershus is where you're going to do that. So we're going to go to Akershus, and they've got, Swedish meatballs. As you basically have this Swedish and American food buffet, and you have one entree that you can fill in with. I got the Swedish meatballs, which they could make gluten-free. They have like roasted chicken. They have like all different kinds of things, but they have, oh God, they had gravlax over in the food bar thing. That was lovely. But then all the princesses come by and chat with you. So you get to talk to Snow White and Beauty. Beauty you meet on the way in. You meet Snow White at your table. You meet Ariel sometimes. You meet Sleeping Beauty. You meet Cinderella. Cinderella and I had a lovely chat when I went there. But yeah, so you're going to have a fun time doing Akershus. And then, to be honest, if you want the classics, we're kind of done with Epcot. We're not going to stay. We're going to get out to the monorail, and we're going to go head over to Magic Kingdom because, truthfully, that's where your classics are. Now, at this point, depending on what time of year you go, at 6 o'clock, it may already be dark, which means Tom Sawyer Island is already closed. But that means you could get over to the teacups. And again, once you finish your fast pass, your last fast pass is at 12:30. At 12:35, once you've scanned in on that fast pass, you can go back onto your app and say, I want a fast pass for Magic Kingdom starting at 6 o'clock or starting at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Because if we're doing Akershus's dinner, it might take you to 8 o'clock, if it's a buffet and you're waiting for the princesses to come by. So at that point, you'll get over to Magic Kingdom 8:30ish or so, because it's just a matter of how fast you walk. You've got an hour and a half to maybe 3.5 hours, depending, and you can pick a number of the rides there. And once the rides are done, head back to your hotel, back to your car, and go on home. And you could try to swim upstream with the crowd, or you can hang out and, like I said, take your time exiting and chill and enjoy the goodnight kiss, get another snack sitting down over in Tomorrowland Terrace or one of the other places before you make your way out. The film in France, see, but here, the show, well, see, I would not call the show in Germany a classic per se. It's you could say the belly dancers in Marrakesh if you're going to go that way, because they were there from the beginning as well. But I wouldn't necessarily call any of the film in France was there when it opened. You are correct. However, that's about to be replaced. Once Ratatouille comes out, they're opening like 2 more restaurants there, and they are changing out that movie to modernize the screen and the filming production of it. And they're going to be switching it out with, I believe, it's a Beauty and the Beast sing-along show. Don't quote me on that, but they are doing a live show that's going to be switched back and forth with the French movie. So that's going to be gone. And the other one you said was the film in China, also about to be replaced. And the film in Canada, actually, I have never seen it. Now, Julie, do you know, was Martin Short the original in that movie when it first opened in Epcot, which would have been the 80s? Because I don't think Martin Short was out back then. I don't think he didn't really start in until the 90s. So let me know if you know that. I would be curious. Yes, I know it's in the beer garden. The Germany show is in the beer garden. Um, it's not something actually I've ever been. I'll be honest. I was never much for family style German food. It's just not never been quite for my interest. It was made in right. It's a Circle Vision, but I think they've changed the movie from its original opening. And correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is was Martin Short in the original version of the Circle Vision? And they are replacing that movie. They're doing a new version of they're refilming the Circle Vision, etc. So it's gonna at some point soon it's gonna be closing and reopening as an updated version of the movie. I know the China one you have to stand in. I've seen the China one, and that is also being replaced. As I said, they're trying to get the seams between the screens to go away. That's the biggest thing I know that they're working on. 15 years ago. So okay, yeah. So it's 15 years ago. The park opened in the 80s. 15 years ago was in the 2000s. So yeah, so it's not the original movie. So it's debatable if you would call it classic. Some people would, some people wouldn't. Like like we've said, it depends on when you count the start. But that could be part of your wandering the countries if you wanted to see any of those things. And again, if you really didn't want to do the Pixar movie, if you decided it was too modern, then yeah, we could always go switch that out and go hit a country and do one of those things. Even the American Adventure has been slightly updated, not crazy updated, but slightly updated. So yeah, so I mean, you could pick and choose what you want to do with the countries. Now, if you decided you wanted to stay in Epcot the entire day and you didn't do the park hopper, then yeah, I would absolutely say go see those movies and things. Um, and if you don't want to meet the princesses at Akershus, you could do beer garden as your dinner. It is a family style table with a buffet, and then you've got the German musicians playing. And correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have any polkaing or dancing in there, Julie? I thought they have at least bring somebody up for part of the show. Okay, so that's day 2. And again, you like I said, if it's all about classics, then you're heading back to Magic Kingdom as late as you can to finish out the night. Day 3, we're going to take a break and we're going to go to Universal. Woohoo! We're 37 minutes in and we're just getting to Universal now. So day 3. Now it depends on your interests. I have a feeling that if someone was truly talking about classics, they wouldn't even want to go to Universal. But there are some people that believe Universal is their classic, their home. Universal is bigger at replacing and changing out rides, with very few exceptions. The one classic original ride that has not been changed and won't be changed is E.T. Because if they update it, there's a whole lot of legal stuff with Spielberg, and they are not allowed to update it, so it just doesn't happen. You can dance the polka. That's what I thought. So day 3, we're going to get up in the morning, and we're going to do a mix of classic and new, just because that's what's going to happen at Epcot. So we are going to head there, and because of the way wait times go, if you don't want to spend the money to get the express pass, then we've got to get you on some of the crazier rides early on. So we're going to get you first thing there. We're going to send you to the back of Universal Studios, and you're going to jump on Gringotts. You'll be able to get through the ride within an hour generally if you get there first thing at rope drop. So we're going to get you through Gringotts, and that'll be at about 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, we're going to head the far, if you're looking at Epcot and you're Gringotts, not Epcot, listen to me, Universal, and you see Gringotts over here, we're going to head this way and we're going to go to Men in Black. And Men in Black is a shoot 'em up game. Again, none of these are what I would call true classics because they've been changed out and refurbed and updated with new IP. But this would be the next one I would send you to. After that, I would send you to E.T., and that is your classic ride. You could potentially head over to the kids area and do Woody Woodpecker after that, and do the little kids coaster there. But it depends on what you want to do. Didn't they just update the closing montage of American Adventure? Yes, they did. They did update that. The new singers, same song, I believe, but new singers and new faces in the end of American Adventure. And that's what I was mentioning before when I was talking about how even that has really been updated. But Universal. So after we finish ET, we're going to head back to the center area and we're going to go and see Shrek. If we go to Shrek, that's probably going from Gringotts to Men in Black to E.T. to Shrek without any fast passes, without any special bells and whistles. I'm giving you kind of a laid back time, and I'm going to say you're going to get through all of those by about noon. You may get faster, depending on your gumption and how early you get there at rope drop, but I'm going to say it's going to take you to about noon. At that point, instead of doing one of the fancier sit-down dinners, we're going to go to something a little more classic. We're going to go to Mel's. Mel's is just burgers, shakes, and fries, but it's been there for quite a long time. You can see the American graffiti cars outside, nearby, not too far away, I should say, because it's not super close. But you can see like the Back to the Future car. You can see the train from Back to the Future 3. So there's some fun traditional classic starts there. We're going to assume, because you're only doing a quick service this time, unless the lines are ungodly, that you're going to be done by 1:30. Also, Universal is starting to do some mobile ordering as well. I have not tried their system, so I can't give you a whole lot of insight on it, but it does look like they are allowing people to do mobile ordering to save some time in their lines and get stuff ordered in advance. So after we do a lunch at Mel's Diner, it's going to be about 1:30-ish is my guess, and we're going to head over to Transformers. My guess is Transformers line is going to be about an hour wait. Unless you're going during one of the real crazy times of year, and then you're going to get what you get. But that's where I'm going to head for you next, and I'm going to assume anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So I've said Transformers, if you get there at 1:30, I haven't tentatively scheduled the next thing until about 3. And 3 o'clock, I'm going to send you over to Rock and Roller Coaster. This is one of those vomit types rides, Miss Terry. And you start going straight up, and then you end up going like that when the car goes down. I mean, almost straight down. You can hear blaring rock and roll music. You get to choose the music that's blaring in your ears. I will never get on it, but I will send people on it, and then I will sit in the field right next to that and take a nap, because that's what I do. After Rock and Roller Coaster, then I'm going to send you to the next one that's been around for a while, and that's the Mummy. Now, Mummy, you can do single rider, which means you may not have to wait an hour and a half, 2 hours for the line. You might be able to get through it in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's really bad, maybe an hour, but usually not that bad. That's at about 4 o'clock. Then I've got us at about 5 o'clock, just because you're kind of killing time, to go over to Transformers. And I'm guessing that, again, it's going to be about an hour to get through Transformers. Might be a little more, might be a little less. But because at this point you've got people who are going to dinner, you're going to start to lose a little of the crazy in the lines. It's going to be a little bit easier. After that, for dinner, I'm going to keep it casual and quick. So you are over. Once you finish that, I'm going to say we get on the train over at the back of Harry Potter Land, as I like to call it, but the back of the park. Take the train over. If the line is way too long to take the train over, you're going to walk across. And then you're going to go into the other Harry Potter Land, and we're going to send you over to the 3 broomsticks. And if you've got at least 3 people with you, hey, Naya, nice to see you, Naya. Welcome to the group. We are talking about how I would plan a trip of 7 days for people who want to focus more on the classic rides. They'll do other rides as well, but they really want to focus on the classics. So we're on day 3. This is the one of 2 days we're going to be at Universal. And we're guessing at around 6 o'clock, 6:30. So I'm going to recommend you go to 3 broomsticks. And as long as there are at least 3 of you, they do a family feast, which is roast chickens and vegetables and potatoes. I've not had it. I've seen it. It looks tremendous. And it's a lot of food, but it would allow everyone to kind of chill and eat and relax. And it's an inexpensive but fun dinner. Once you're done dinner there, then if we're talking more classic rides, I'm going to send you into Seuss Land. That's where you're going to get the Cat in the Hat ride, the Redfish Bluefish ride. There's a Carousel, but you're just going to take your time and you're going to enjoy the assorted Seuss rides. Anything that you want to do for an hour and a half. After that, we're going to head over to Spider-Man, and we're going to see if you can get you in line before the park closes. Now, Universal's a little different. They will cut off the lines a little bit early. So if you want to be in a line there at least 15 minutes before they close. I've seen them let you stay in line longer, but some other people have reported that they kind of cut you out. So, and Universal closes anywhere between 7 o'clock at night and 10 o'clock at night, depending on what else is going on. Only very rarely will they be open till 11 or 12. They are more traditional hours in terms of parks, in terms of the theme parks. But I'm going to have you finish there. And then on the way out, it's up to you. They've got mini golf, which may or may not still be open. They've got a bunch of bars and restaurants out in City Walk, and you could do something there. Or you can just head back to your hotel and make it a slightly earlier night. Day 4. If somebody loves the classics, they're really interested in how the parks tick, and especially Magic Kingdom, I am going to recommend that on day 4, we do a tour. And I'm going to recommend the biggest of them. It's not the one I've done, but I know at least enough about it, and that's the Backstage Magic Tour. And Backstage Magic is a 7-hour tour, started about 8 o'clock in the morning before the park opens, and you learn the history and you go into the utilidors. The lunch is provided as part of your meal, so you don't have to plan out the lunch, and it will be one of those quick service places in the park, but it is an exceptional history experience. They will also take you on a couple of the classic rides. Might be Haunted Mansion, might be Jungle Cruise, might be the Carousel of Progress, but they'll take you on those classic rides and they will teach you a little bit about the history. Now, if you don't want 7 hours, then I would say for 3 hours, you do the Marceline to the Magic Kingdom. For 5 hours, which includes lunch, you would do the Keys to the Kingdom. And any of those three will give you history, will give you knowledge, will give you information. 2 of them take you into the utilidors, and those same 2 will give you lunch. You get to go backstage and see the sanitation system. You get to go and see some of the parade floats. It's really cool. And if you have the additional funds, do it. If you have a Disney Visa card, a credit card, go ahead and use that to purchase your tickets, because for most of the tours, you will get about 10 or 15% off. If you're an annual pass holder or a Disney Vacation Club member, you will also be able to get some percentage off of those tours. So absolutely recommend those as options for you. And you have to book those significantly in advance. You can book them as early out as when you do your food reservations. And especially around the rush times, around the holidays, they're gone. They're just gone. So be aware of that. So you're going to start with that tour. Now, if we do the 7-hour tour, that's going to mean that you're going to be in the tour from 8 o'clock, including your lunch, and at 3 o'clock, you're going to be done. Well, we're already in Magic Kingdom, so you don't have to book your fast passes first thing in the morning. You can book them later. So at about 3 o'clock, we're going to book Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Remember, you've got that hour. So if the tour ends, if you book it at 3, from 3 to 4, you've got that whole block that you can get into the ride. So if the tour runs longer, if you want to ask more questions, if you need another potty break, you've got that time. Universal can close anywhere from 7 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night. The cool thing about Universal, if you go to the website today and you're plotting out your trip and you want to know what the hours are on December 5th, if you go to their website today and the hours say they're going to close at 10, when you get to December 5th, they're going to close at 10. With Disney, they're notorious for saying, oh yeah, we're closing at 9 o'clock tonight. We're closing at 9 o'clock on December 5th. And then as you get about 2 weeks out of December 5th, they go, oh, there's a lot of people. We're going to close at 11 instead. And suddenly extra fast passes show up and extra ride time shows up. So Disney is notorious for changing their hours. Keep checking those times. Keep checking those fast passes. Things, if you've missed them, will still be able to open. But if you're going to do Universal, hard and fast. When you see that time, that's the time it's going to be. They don't change their mind. They're very good about that. But they are definitely more limited in their hours. They don't open as early as Disney does often, and they don't stay open as late, just in general. Not always the case, but just in general. But in the middle of the winter, they're closing at 7 o'clock at night sometimes. You never know. So check the website for when you're going, and you'll get the information you need. So, all right. So we're going back to Magic Kingdom. So we've done that backstage tour. And then we have gone to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train with a fast pass. Then, because you get that hour block, I'm going to say 4 o'clock, Big Thunder Mountain. That is a classic. Yeah. Big Thunder Mountain is, again, one of those semi-traditional classic rides. It's a roller coaster, a wood roller coaster. So it is one of those older styles. And we're going to do that. Then we're going to finish that. And at 5 o'clock, you're going to, well, about 4:45, once you finish Big Thunder Mountain, you're going to head over toward the Tiki Room. You're going to get a Dole Whip, either Dole Whip by itself or Dole Whip on pineapple upside down cake or Dole Whip with pineapple juice. None of the alcoholic versions are there. Or you're going to head a little bit farther down and get the Citrus Swirl, which is vanilla and orange Dole Whip, so it tastes like a creamsicle. You're going to have one of those. Classic Disney. Now, if you haven't already done the Tiki Room because you decided to forego it, you can take your Dole Whip into the Tiki Room and eat your Dole Whip in the Tiki Room. I've done it many times. Highly recommend it. Lots of fun. If you have once you do that at 5 o'clock, your next fast pass I'm going to recommend is going to be the Jungle Cruise. Classic ride. 50 in the regular book. It's 50 pages of bad puns and jokes they memorize. If you have the Christmas version, it's another 20 pages of jokes and bad puns that they memorize. And they could pull any of those things out at any time. It's just the skipper's personal version. And there are some lovely stories about the history of how that happened. And if you want to know the story of that, because we learned it on a tour, I would be happy to share that with you. Just let me know in the comments if you want that story. If you don't like Dole Whip or ice cream, find a churro. That would be the other classic thing I would recommend. Or an ice cream Mickey bar, you know, the ones that are vanilla ice cream dipped in chocolate that are match Mickey's head, or popcorn. Those are your classic snacks. Now, if you want to go a little more crazy, they have lime Dole Whip over near in the center area, more near Small World, where it's a lime Dole Whip over Sprite with a little white chocolate ear, and it looks like Peter Pan. Or I've heard great things about the Cheshire Cattail, which is a little tiny quick service stand near where Merida does her meet and greets on the edge of Fantasyland. And it is almost like a croissant-y type long tail that is covered in a Cheshire Cat colored icing and stripes, and it's filled with chocolate chips. And I've had friends who've gotten it who've loved it. I've heard raves about it. So those could be your other options. You want a lime whip? Yeah, that came out last year. They also have raspberry Dole Whip now and mango Dole Whip. They've come up with these specialty ice cream cones that are all over the park right now. The Hey Hey cone is lemon and raspberry with a sour candy strip on the top and 2 little white chocolate eyes, so it looks like Hey Hey. The Up cone, which is over in Tomorrowland and Auntie Gravity's, is a mango one with a white chocolate thing that looks like the balloons in Up. And the last one is so that was mango. There's another one I think is the lemon Dole Whip soft serve that has blasted, I can't remember, but it's themed off of another one, and it's like lemonade-y refreshing. And I've heard they melt really quick in the summer, but I've heard good things about all of them. There is actually, unless you go to a sit-down restaurant, Terry, there is no alcohol in the Magic Kingdom. Every other park has it. You can walk around with it, but Magic Kingdom, sit-down restaurants only. You cannot take it out of those restaurants, just so you know. But we are talking classics. We're not talking about partying, which could be another one, is what do the partiers want to do? They're going to spend most of the time in Disney Springs. But yes, well, if you want the rum version of the Dole Whip, you need to go over to Epcot to the port refreshment, and they will do rum over your Dole Whip. Now, you could also just get the plain Dole Whip, head over to Mexico and get tequila on your Dole Whip. Or there is a refreshment port kind of a stand in Disney Springs where you could get, they call it pineapple soft serve when you go outside of the parks themselves, but you could get the Dole Whip there and then find a shot or something of alcohol at one of the other places and throw that on. There's a restaurant called Wine Bar George that is now making the equivalent of a shake with Dole Whip, vodka, and Prosecco. And it's called the Pineapple Froscato or something like that. It's supposed to be very tasty. Very tasty. Well, yeah, sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. I'm going to give you the information. So, where were you here? God, we're only on day 4. So we're going to do the Jungle Cruise. And then while it is not one of the original classic restaurants, we've gone through a lot of the quick serves. And while Tony Town Square has been there, and I know some of my friends like it, I just, unless you're dying for Italian food, it's not something I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend the Jungle Skipper Canteen because you get more bad puns. And it's like being on the Skipper Cruise itself. And the food is more interesting. You've got more options and more variety there. After that, if you haven't already done Dumbo, you're going to look to see whatever fast passes you can get. PhilharMagic, Dumbo, Winnie the Pooh. I've got these kind of tentatively scheduled for other days. Or even better, we're going to head over into Tomorrowland, go all the way to the far end, and either do the Tomorrowland Speedway or the Carousel of Progress. Carousel of Progress usually doesn't have much of any kind of a wait, so I would recommend going there first and trying to see if you can fast pass one of the other rides for a slightly later time. After that, we're going to try to see if you can get a fast pass for Space Mountain or for Buzz Lightyear, depending on if you want a roller coaster or you want to shoot 'em up. Space Mountain is going to be your more classic of the 2 rides. I can't ride it, so I would try to do the other one. The other thing I'm going to recommend over there, and it is an absolute classic, and the diehards adore it, but the lines have started getting much longer, is the People Mover. And that is, you take the little escalatory thing up, and you take that around. The other option, at night I'm going to recommend it, over the day would be the Astro Orbiter. It's the equivalent of Dumbo up in the air. So add another 50 feet of height to Dumbo, and that's the Astro Orbiter. And at night, either during the fireworks show, which again is about 9 o'clock, or during the just at night in general with all the lights on, with all the buildings, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see everything in the park. So I'm going to say you're going to stay in Tomorrowland to finish out the rest of your night there. If they close at 9, you're done a little earlier. If you've got a later night, just keep grabbing the ones you can grab in terms of fast passes or getting in line, and enjoy the park for what you got left. Day 5. What do we got here? People Mover. I see. I know. I got stuck on the People Mover. It was kind of funny. Oh dear goodness. Yeah, Terry Drew has been my traveling companion. If you look at the vlogs from my December trip, he's the guy I was traveling around with. Terry and my brother went to high school together, and I saw the pictures of your trip, by the way. Oh my God, that was amazing. We can talk offline rather than here, but oh my God, just so powerful, so beautiful, really, really cool. I'm jealous that you guys got to go. Yeah, you're a charming dork, Drew. All right, so day 5 at almost an hour, because there's a lot more detail to these. We're going to go to Animal Kingdom. Now, Animal Kingdom is the newest park, so there's nothing truly classic per se if you're talking true classics, but there will be rides from when that park opened or when that park originated. Even some of those have changed. So I'm going to go a little bit of things that are new and things that are old. So first thing in the morning when you get there, without a fast pass, we're going to go immediately into Pandora, and we're going to get you on the Navi River journey. I did not say flights of passage. We're going to do Navi River journey. You're going to schedule your fast pass for between 9:30 and 10 o'clock for flights of passage, if you can get it. Now, one of the tricks I have learned when you are doing fast passes, if you are staying on property, and this only works when you're staying on property, is you go ahead and wait for the beginning of your trip. Your trip is 7 days. 60 days out from your trip, from the first day of your trip, you can book all 7 days. What you want to do is start at least on day 3 or 4 of your trip, or on the days that have the harder to get fast passes. Slinky Dog Dash, Flight of Passage, if and when they're ever offered, Galaxy's Edge. You want to start booking those toward the end of your trip, and you want to book those first. Then you can work your way forward. Because a lot of the classic rides that I've put in here, Space Mountain, Seven Dwarfs might be the only one that's not. Grab those as early as you can and close to the times you think you want. All of those back end ones. Then you can start filling in more relaxed with the ones that don't fill up so quickly. So we're going to try to get you on Flights of Passage. Then once we leave Flights of Passage as a fast pass, our next fast pass is going to be Dinosaur. And that's one of the earlier rides. Now, for those of you who like the older, more traditional rides of at least 30 years old, if you have been to Disneyland and you liked the Indiana Jones ride, this is the same track, the bumps, etc. It will not look like the same because it's not themed to Indiana Jones, and you're not going to get the fireball at you, etc., or the big ball coming at you. But it is the same track. It is the same mechanism that drives it. So in that sense, it is sort of a, how did I make my steps? I'm sitting here. I'm just doing a lot of this. I'm gesticulating. Okay, well, I made my steps. Okay, so that being said, so we're going to do that. Then we're after the Dinosaur, we're going to at that point probably be around 11:30, and we're going to do an early lunch at Satuli Canteen. I'm going to recommend that because it's some of the better food there. It's a quick service, and you can get through your meal quickly. Now, if you really don't want to do the bowls with all the veggies and stuff, there's barbecue at Flame Tree Barbecue that's really good. There's a fast, quick service for Yak and Yeti that's more like Chinese foods and Indian foods. That's pretty good. But you could pick any of those. Yeah, I love the People Mover. I do. I admit it. Drew may hate it, but I love it. So after dinner, or after lunch, I should say, we're going to get in get in line for the Lion King show. I'm not going to recommend that you fast pass this one, because if you don't mind getting in line and hanging out in line for a little bit, you generally can get in. I've gotten there like as the place was almost completely full up, and they still squeezed me in, and I still got a great seat. So there's no real bad seat there. So, and you might have some people in front of you. You won't die, but but it's got Lion King characters, which for some people are considered classic. I shudder to think of that, but yes, some people consider it classic. So I'm going to recommend the Lion King show. Then, depending on the heat and depending on how crazy it is, I'm going to recommend that you go over to Kali River Rapids. Height of the day at 2:30. If it's a hot enough day, the line might start getting a little bit longer. And if it is that bad, then you might want to pass it. Or if you don't want to do the roller coaster I'm about to list next, that could be your fast pass at that point. But at 3:30, giving you about an hour, I'm going to say that's when you want to book Expedition Everest. And that's the big roller coaster that goes backwards in the dark where you're fighting the Yeti, or the Yeti tears up the track and it's, oh no, you're running away from the Yeti. It's very cool. So I would go there. Then the last fast pass, or if you can grab a fast pass later in the day, I'm going to recommend that you do the safari. You either want to do it in the morning or the evening. And because we're limited on fast passes and how we're doing this, I'm going to say you're going to put it at the end. And the safari is a safari ride like Great Adventure used to have the safari, or, you know, but it's lovely. It used to have a storyline with it where, you know, you were there to save the elephants from the poachers, but the storyline has gone, sadly. But it's still a really neat ride. It's still a really cool experience. I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Then, if you can get the fast pass for it, go ahead and try to get Rivers of Light. If you can't, yes, some seats are better than other seats, but I've just stood in line and done walk-in for that. And while I would not call it a classic, at least it's one of the stage shows, and I'm pushing a little more stage shows for this for people who like classics because all of the characters come out. Now in this one, there's no characters other than animals. I don't know, Drew, what your opinion was of the show was, and you can pop that in there. I liked it when they had characters added into it. They had like people per se. Uh, it's an okay show. It's pretty. It's very pretty. I was told yesterday the fire chute in the Lotus isn't working right now. It's being repaired, so you know, who knows. But after you're going to do the Rivers of Light show, you're going to go look at the Tree of Life. You're going to wander back into Pandora and look at the lights again. But at this point, while it's a very pretty park late at night, they close earlier. So more often than not, unless it's a real high traffic time of year, they close at 8 o'clock. So your night is done. Again, the power of having the park hopper, head over to Magic Kingdom and pick up another classic ride or repeat your rides. Any of the ones I've mentioned so far, if you didn't get them the day before, that's the time to grab it. You could do the tour, but then they're losing so much time. If they don't want to go to Universal, they could absolutely do the tour. But if they want to try to get in rides, which is more what this group is about, is classic rides and rides and experiences, Magic Kingdom is the only tour I would really recommend for someone who's all about classics. If you're into zoology, a little bit of history, or the information about animals in general and conservation events, and that's your gig and your thing, then oh yeah, do all of the tours over at Animal Kingdom. They're amazing. But I don't know that I would make that my first choice. It was pretty and amazing with projections into the sprayed mist in the air above the little lake. It is very little entertainment, but a lot of show. Yeah, that was kind of my thing. It just didn't. I've seen it twice because people hadn't seen it. The people I'm going with in June, because I made all my fast passes for my June trip this morning at 7 a.m. I didn't. I didn't. I did it for the night that they were going to be there, and I didn't bother for me. I mean, I've seen it twice, and it was better the second time because the fire thingy was working and and we had a better view. But I think it was. Oh no, maybe I've seen it 3 times. Oh dear God, yeah, no, it just isn't worth that to me. All right, so that part closes at 8. Head to Magic Kingdom, grab a couple rides, and then head back into sleep. If you're really tired at this point, because this is day 5 and you've been running, then just go back to your room and go to sleep. So, because if you haven't gotten sick already, you're still at risk of that. Day 6, Hollywood Studios, but we're not starting at Hollywood Studios because again, most of the stuff in Hollywood Studios has been changed out and very little of it is classic. So we're going to start over at Magic Kingdom again. And if we're going to talk classics and we're going to talk the movies, we're going to do what I generally would not personally ever do, but I would do for somebody who really wanted it. And that's go to Be Our Guest with a breakfast reservation. Book it as early as possible. Be Our Guest stuff disappears because you get to go into Beast's castle and you get to see the room where he's depressed and scratches stuff up, or you get to sit in one of the other areas. And I would say lunch or breakfast are your better times, but I'm going to make our breakfast is our first big meal of the day. They give you little croissants and they give you one little entree thing. Yeah, I would probably send someone to go on their own, and I would probably not join them, to be honest. I would go somewhere else for breakfast personally, but that's my bias. I'm just not fond of it. I've had enough bad experiences there that it just doesn't do enough for me. But now that you're at the back of the park, if you do Be Our Guest as your breakfast, and this is the one reason I might do it, if you do an 8 o'clock breakfast and the park doesn't open till 9, you get to cut in and you get to go all the way to the back of the park. And you eat your breakfast from 8 to quickly till about 9:45 or 8:45, 8:55, pay and get the hell out of Dodge, because at 9 o'clock, you're at the back of the park where everyone else is just starting. If you have not been able to get a fast pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, that's when you're going to grab it. You're going to just get in line before the park, before everyone else even gets there. If you have not been able to do, or if you have been able to do that, you've booked that already, then I'm going to say go to Under the Sea or to the Ariel meet and greet, because that will all open at 9 o'clock. In fact, do Under the Sea first and then go meet Ariel. Lines aren't too busy at that point, and you don't have to fast pass a darn thing. 9:30, start to head toward the front and go to the Pooh ride. Go to see Winnie the Pooh. And as you're starting to head in, go to PhilharMagic, which really doesn't get much of a line at that point. Now that you're in that center area, you're going to make your way a little farther into the center of town, and you're going to do Small World. Now, the only classic ride that I haven't listed here, which you really are going to need to fast pass, not that it's the most exciting ride, but it is an absolute classic, and it's one I would recommend to do at the very end of the night on one of those nights you go back to the park, is Peter Pan. Because if you don't rope drop it and you haven't fast passed it, you're never going to get it. The line is a lot of fun. The new line, the queue they've put in, where they have Tinkerbell in the kids' room, and you get to see that. You see some great theming, some fun little things, and they now have a game on the My Disney Play experience that you can do. But I would not wait for an hour and a half or 2 hours to get through that darn queue, because the ride itself just doesn't get people on it fast enough. And that's really what happens. And it's a lovely ride, and it's one of the originals, and you need to see it, but pick a time toward late at night that you can do it. I did it, and in fact, I got in. Magic Kingdom closed at midnight on Christmas Eve, and I got into line at about 10 of midnight, and I was just about the front of the line as the woman turned to everybody in the line and went, "Merry Christmas," and I was then the next person to get on the ride. So it was a lovely little bit of Christmas magic there. But, like I said, they'll let you in as long as you get there at the very end. But you're going to do Small World. And then as you start to head out, if it's not too crowded at a time, it may take a little bit longer to do this, but you're going to head over to Monsters, Inc. and see if you can become that guy, as Drew was. Animal Kingdom, well, it's the biggest park of all, has the very least attractions. It's because the Animal Kingdom itself, yeah, and it is. It's all about animals. It's all about nature. It's all about conservation. Conservation Station is reopening soon. They are doing a progressive dinner event happening there a little bit later this year, like a month or two from now. And part of it is going to be taking the train to Conservation Station and doing part of the event there, and then coming back out to Harambe. That means Conservation Station is open again. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be when I'm there in June. If not, I'm taking time to go do that when I get back there in December, because I do love that. But it does take a chunk of time out of your day. So that being said, so we're at about noon. We've gotten a bunch of stuff if we haven't already gotten it, or if you want to see something again, Magic Kingdom. And then we're going to head off to Hollywood Studios. It's going to take about a half an hour to 45 minutes to get there. I'm guessing if we're lucky, we'll get there at about 12:30. And we're going to fast pass Star Tours. Again, it's not one of the first rides, but it is one of the slightly more classic rides. And then, again, looking at kind of home cook and look at traditional stuff, I'm going to recommend, yes, you will be that guy. I'm going to recommend the Primetime 50s Cafe. You are in your family kitchen, and your cousins are your wait staff. They will yell at you for putting your elbows on the table. If you go to the bathroom, make sure you know what color the soap is. They will ask you. They may make you stand in the corner with your back to everyone. They may make you sing "I'm a Little Teapot." But it's entertainment. They supposedly make a really good peanut butter and jelly shake, but it's pot roast and fried chicken and kind of more traditional stick to your ribs food again, but a 1950s more modern take versus the Liberty Tree Tavern, which is the older type of stuff like that. So you'll do lunch, and again, I'm giving you about an hour and 45 minutes to do lunch, around 1:15 till about 3. This is where you would have booked this fast pass way early, and that's Slinky Dog Dash. I am hoping that in that hour and 45 minutes, your lunch has settled some. Slinky Dog doesn't go upside down, but it will do a number of bumps for you. So you do kind of need to be prepared for that. Your next fast pass is going to be the Frozen Sing-Along Show. Yes, I know. It's a moderner movie. but it is a lovely show where they show clips from the movies. You and the audience get to sing along, and the two actors in the front of it are hysterical. There's one of the regular vloggers I watch who every single time he's in Hollywood studios, he goes to that show and they sing along, and there's one of the two actors on the stage that they adore, and they have a great time just picking on him and him picking back, and it's a lot of fun. After the Frozen sing-along, I'm figuring 4 to 5 o'clock for that, you're going to go over to the Muppets. And the Muppets pretty much never has a line other than waiting for the show prior to it, unfortunately. And who knows how long that's going to be there. But we're going to do that. And I'm going to say, just to give you time, if there's leeway, etc., is you're going to do the Muppets show. And then your next Fast Pass isn't going to be till 6 o'clock, opposite side of the park. If you want to do this, this is one of the earlier rides, and it's the Tower of Terror. I will not go on this ride. But if someone wants something semi-classic to this park, you want to do that. After that, at about 6:45, I'm expecting that you'll be able to go single rider line into Rock and Roller Coaster, unless something goes seriously wrong. And then your next thing I'm not blocking is until about 8 o'clock, and that's when you want to get in line for Fantasmic. You have to wait in line a long time to be able to get a seat for Fantasmic. Seats can be iffy for Fantasmic, but if you want something that is semi-traditional, semi-classic, you want to go see it. Now, I will say I like Fantasmic more when it is in Disneyland than Disney World. You literally are sitting in the streets of Adventureland there and by the water. There's something that keeps you more actively involved in the park there than in Disney World, where you're in Hollywood Studios and you're in an amphitheater and you're just waiting like you're waiting at a stage. It misses something for me. The ambiance just isn't as good. But all of the characters, the costume characters, Mickey, Minnie, Maleficent is in there. Name a prince and princess, they show up in there. It doesn't have the computer that wore tennis shoes, but it's got like almost everybody else is there. So it's one of those great little sit-down shows. When that show is done, you're going to book all the way back to the center hub to see the fireworks for Star Wars. No, it's not classic. I don't care. It's the best fireworks in the entire park. All right, some people like Magic Kingdoms more. I like these. I'm sorry, Drew, you said, when I get motion sick rather easily, I didn't find Slinky Dog should actually much of a challenge. Yeah, I got a little queasy on Slinky Dog because of that one, the second section where it did a lot of that. Yeah. The good part of it is you can see some great shots of Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, the Star Wars fireworks are, adore them. I don't know what's going to happen once Galaxy's Edge opens, if it's going to change it or not. No idea. So I'm going to make sure I go see it before the other stuff opens. And then after the fireworks, it's usually around 9:30 at night when the park is actually closed. Now, if you decide not to do Fantasmic, they've got a new show opening at 9:05, which is the art of animation kind of show. And they're going to be doing classic movie characters and all of the stuff projected on those buildings as well. So it's more of a history of the movies, which looks really lovely. But this is going to be how you finish out your time at Disney, because your last day is going to be back over at Universal. Now, again, if you really want to spend a little more time with the classics with Disney, or if you want a little downtime, you're not going to do Universal at all. But if you want to get some Universal time in there and you want to see some of that stuff and do some of those, then this is how you're going to do it. All right, so last day, the way we've got you first into the Harry Potter on one side, we're going to get you first into the Harry Potter ride on the other side. Be there before rope drop, and you will be able to get in. If the Hagrid's ride has opened by the time you get there, that's probably the one you're going to have to do at rope drop, and then you'll head over to Forbidden Journey. It's going to take you probably an hour and a half to 2 hours to get through those two rides, just because of line waiting. If you're lucky and you can get through them earlier, that's fabulous, but expect you're going to be at least 2, maybe even 2.5 hours just to get through those two rides. And you can always say you don't want to do them, but they would be kind of excited. So then I am expecting at that point, by around 11:15, you're going to start heading around the top, this way for you, the top loop of the park, and you're going to go to the Jurassic Park ride. And it's as classic as you're going to get for these parks, with a couple variants, but it's a water ride, and you're going to do this one big drop at the end, and it's, oh no, the dinosaurs are coming to kill you. It's very fun. After you leave that, then if you don't mind getting even more wet, you're going to do the Dudley Do-Right ride, which, Dudley Do-Right's from the 60s and early 70s, so you're getting classic there. And it's been around for quite a while. Same with Popeye and Bluto's Bilgewater Rats. They've been around for a while. I don't know the exact start time because I am less savvy on Universal. I'll admit it freely. But they are classic rides, and you will get soaked, not just wet, soaked soak within an inch of your life. Change your shoes before you get on the ride. If you can put on quickie little flip flops or something cheap just to get on the ride and get off, so you don't get your shoes wet and keep your shoes dry somewhere, absolutely recommend it. And so after you finish doing the water rides, that's going to take you probably till around noon. Then I'm going to say, and I just looked at this and realized this might have been a stupid choice, but you're going to then head over to Mythos. If you can bring a whole change of clothing after the water rides, I'm going to recommend that, because, oh dear God, Mythos gets cold. And if you're wet, it's going to get that much more cold. You will freeze by the time your meal is done. It takes about an hour and a half for a meal. It's not very expensive, but it's a nice sit down meal. But yeah, it's like an ice box in there. After Mythos, then you're going to head out, and this is one of the other, as close as you're going to get to classic attractions, and that's Poseidon's Fury. And it's a walkthrough attraction, and you can see it's very dated, but it's still fun. I want to see Joanna the Goanna Lizard. She looks like Al Gore. Okay, I don't think I know that. Won't stay. Yes, if you stay at a Universal property, thank you. You will be allowed to get in an hour early, and you could now. It's only one park or the other, depending on the day. So you'll adjust once you know what those are, and then make that your Harry Potter ride to get it out of the way, because it's usually just the Harry Potter stuff they open early, not the train, but the individual stuff. So you could do that, and yeah, that would save you. It's and you can do express pat. Well, if you're going to stay at one of the less expensive ones, it just gets you in that early. If you stay at one of the expensive resorts, and I would only, I mean, I don't know that I'd recommend this as an individual, but if you're a group of people, then I would recommend this. 4 people in a room going to one of the places in Universal, you get the express pass as many times as you want built into all the rides, which means you can walk onto just about everything all day long for those days. And that's going to help. If that's what you want to do, that's going to be my recommendation to you. If you want to get as many rides and keep riding and riding, that's really what you're going to have to do. I want to see. She's from Discoverers Down Under. I don't know that one. Pool iCucumbers. Oh yes, iCucumbers, right. But that means you're not going to be in the parks doing classic rides. But yeah, if you want to relax at the pool, they give you the iCucumbers, which you had mentioned before. So we're going to do Poseidon's Fury. After Poseidon's Fury, which will take about an hour between line and ride, etc., we're going to head over to Spider-Man. And if it's not too crowded, you might be able to walk through the ride. If it is crowded, do the single riders line and break up. You should be able to get through there in about an hour. And then you're going to head over to Hulk. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to jump into the single riders line if you want to do it, or you're going to sit across the way and take a nap at the water if you don't, like me. And then after the Hulk, you're going to head to the airport, because again, not as much classic-y type stuff there. Now, you could shift these days around, but the reason I made Universal the last day is because, especially if you're talking classic rides, you want to be in the Disney parks as long as possible, especially Magic Kingdom, as often as possible, to allow you the time to get to everything. Now, you may decide to do what I'm doing on my next trip, which is pay additionally for one of the after-hours parties. And that's 3 hours in either Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, or Magic Kingdom, where almost every single attraction is open. Not all of them. Depends on the parks and the ones you're doing. But a lot of the attractions are open, and you could be able to walk on, like people I've seen do the Hollywood Studios one, walk onto Slinky Dog Dash 5 times in a row, and then go do more rides, because it only took them an hour to do that, because they limit the number of people in the park so much that you can just walk. And if you do something like that, you're going to afford yourself more downtime to sleep in. You just will. Poseidon's Fury, I know you love Poseidon's Fury. I mean, I'll have to make sure you get back. Where's my get back? I can't take the walking. Well, but then you do hand on hand and have someone guide you. Just so I can put an arm on someone. Yeah, exactly. That was just what I was saying. So that is 7 days focusing more on classic rides, focusing more on the traditional stuff or the original rides at parks, with a little bit of flexibility for some other fun stuff. Because as much as classics are classics, the other rides will eventually become classics. Like I said, there are people who are in their 20s now who, when they talk about the classic rides, are talking about the rides that came out when I was in high school, or only came out in the year 2000, 2002, which was like the first time I really started going back. I went to Disney when I was 7, and then in the 70s. And then I went back in senior year and did a little bit of Disney as well as some other stuff. And then I went back in 2002. And then I started going every year starting in 2009. So I'm going on to my 11th year where I go for every Christmas, and I've done a little more traveling. And in the process, after about 2 or 3 years of that, I started going to Universal as well for almost every trip, with a couple of limitations there. So to me, classic things mean different things. Like as much as the Raptor Encounter again is one of my absolute favorite things at Universal, it's not a classic. It's just not. Um, and Universal, like I said, they're always about changing. They're always about changing. So like Twister could have been a classic. Not that I liked it much, but it was a classic. It's gone. It's now the Jimmy Fallon ride. Or Disaster to me would have been a classic. Oh my God, I love Disaster. It was my favorite rides. And now it's Fast and Furious. And you'll notice I didn't mention either of those rides because they're the latest, greatest. But to be honest, if you have time, you can probably walk onto those. You could get a virtual queue if it's really busy, but it's generally not super busy for those rides. Just saying. Why do I like the Raptor Encounter? I will have to send you the link to the first time that Drew and I experienced the Raptor Encounter. I do meet and greet as a character with what I do. The puppet itself, the person in the body puppet is phenomenal. Everyone who works the event, like we used to have, like when Brent was a friend of Bugs or other characters. I was a friend of Bugs briefly for a little while at Great Adventure. You had a handler, but they were just there to make sure the person didn't get beaten up. The handlers are there to enhance the story. So you've got these people who are like, "Oh, we're going to help you take your picture, but watch out! I'm gonna use hand signals so the dinosaur doesn't eat you and bite." And they play the story so well, and they fill the story out so much. It's not even a walkthrough. No. This is a photo op experience. That's all it is you hand your photo, or if you want them to take the photos and you go try to buy them, but you hand their video camera or your photo to them, and it's just a character meet and greet. And it's hysterical because they play it up perfectly. And, the last video that I posted from this last year is like, they turn to this little girl like, "Hey, Sarah, is it your birthday? It's your 8th birthday? You want to see your next birthday? Run away from the dinosaur." It's very silly. And yeah, it's something I want to do every single time. It just makes, Poseidon. Drew's going to have to answer that one for you. It's okay for me, Poseidon. But he loves it. And it's fun. I don't like standing the whole time. I don't like the walking the whole time. But the whoever you get as your guide and actor through the room to room to room, that's what makes it or breaks it, is how funny they are, how creative they are, and sells the event. I wouldn't mind doing it again. It's not something I'm dying to do, but I wouldn't mind doing it again. I enjoyed it. So we are at almost an hour and a half. Hush. So you guys need to let me know if there is anything else you want to know about, or questions you have on this kind of game plan, or if there is something you want me to talk about next time. I think we talked about someone who wants to do all the new experiences, or someone who wants to do the tours and the history, like if they're more interested in the history, not necessarily the classic rides, but the how this was made kind of stuff, which will be a lot more tours and a lot more events. It could end up being a much more expensive trip. Let me know. Now, if we do something where we talk about tours and rides, that's almost exclusively going to be Disney, because Universal doesn't do that. They do VIP tours, and you spend $4,000 for 6 hours for a group of up to 10 people, I think it is. And all it is about getting you on the rides faster and a little bit of talking to you about stuff on the way, which is just not my thing. Oh, you had a bad tour guide on the Poseidon's Ferry. Yeah, see, that's going to kill it. And sometimes they're, a little geekier than us. But if you remember, like Disaster was funnier when the person who's doing your intro had the right acting, the right mania for the character. It took me a little while to realize how they set them up so that, like, that person was named Jamie or Chris or Taylor or something, where it could be both a male or female name. And I've seen both male and female people playing those parts, and to me, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I'm going to throw this at the end here for those of you who are just curious. I saw Hellboy yesterday. I'm off to see Shazam tonight. So I may have comments about those later, should you wish, or if you have questions about Hellboy now. I think I already talked to Mr. Drew about that. So if this, I will say this now. So if you have learned something or you've gotten something you didn't think about before, if this has helped you at all, please do give this a like and give me a thumbs up. Click that. If you followed this today, or you found this and you found it very interesting, or it helped you, or you're curious about other stuff I'm doing, or you want to see when I go back on and do my next trip in June and I start putting the vlogs up for that, go ahead and subscribe. If there's something that you want to know about, questions you want answered, go ahead and not in the live chat comments, but if you can go below that, there's another section where you'll be able to comment after the fact on the vlog, and go ahead and give me your feedback, your thoughts, your comments on things you want to know about. Because I don't have enough subscribers yet, because I think I need 1,000 before they'll let me do any of the extra bell and whistle stuff. Yeah, I know you come for Drew. I realize that. I always ask Drew if he's going to be around when I'm doing these because I realize I won't see you if he's not around. It's all good. But that being said, if you if you want to know anything further, or put that in the comments. Oh, I was going to say is, yeah, because I don't have 1,000 people yet, I can't send out messages through here. The only way I'm reaching out to people right now is through Facebook to say, hey, this is when the next live chat is happening. So I can't put questions up here. I can't put stuff up here. So the only way I can reach out to you guys is through Facebook, or if you guys put comments in the bottom, or you guys subscribe if you come across this. And I don't think I'm going to pop up in a whole lot of channels, but I'm going to keep doing these because they're fun. I like the planning. Like I said, this morning, I was up at 7:30 this morning, or 6:50 this morning. So it's 7 o'clock. I could hit the refresh and I could log in and start making my fast passes. I was able to get flights of passage. I was not able to get Slinky Dog, but I did not follow my own advice. I started on day 1 to book stuff instead of starting on day 5 or 5. And if I'd started on day 5, I probably could have gotten Slinky Dog. I think I probably missed it by just a few minutes, which is sad. A show on forgotten characters like Joanna. That's possible. Yeah, no more Disaster or Twister. It's very sad, Terry. It's very, very sad. I am not as history savvy, Julie. There are better places to go for that. The Defunct Land Disney is fabulous for history and characters, and I highly recommend you hit their page and start looking through Defunct Land, DEFUNCTLAND, Defunct Land, one word. And they are, or Rob Plays, 2 words, Rob Plays, and they are amazing for the history stuff. I've learned a lot from them, and they will go and they even do like how the costume for the characters changed. Like you see Mickey Mouse from when the park first opened through the Mickeys in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and he's about to change again. So you get all that kind of history stuff. So I mean, I could chat about it in amongst other stuff, but I don't think I'm going to be your best source for that. I think there are much better people out there for that, and I would recommend you watching them. Outbreak. Oh, the Universal, yeah, the fire show. I heard about that one. I never saw that. Twister broke down? It's a walk from room to room to room, Terry. So the storm didn't happen and you just walked through 3 rooms and never got to actually see the storm? I'm curious. Type in there and let me know what actually happened. I'm very curious, because that's not an actual ride. You walked from room to room to room. I'm wondering if you're thinking of Disaster, where you're in the subway station and, oh no, the water's coming in, and oh no, the fire's coming at you, which was part of more of like a backstage tour, which I think had, and then was King Kong was in way back when and stuff like that. And these are things that I never saw. The Back to the Future ride, which is now the Simpsons, and I did actually want you to hit the Simpsons. It's not true classic, but it's more recent classic. And who knows now that the Simpsons are owned by Disney and Marvel's owned by Disney, and so many of the things that are in Universal are owned by Disney. We'll see how all of that pans out. Curious as to how many people have gotten their Avengers tickets already, and who's planning on going to see that. But yeah, so if there's something, like I said, if you want me to talk about something or subject, either get me through Facebook if you're already following me there. And the name in Facebook is Michelle Schultz. That's Michelle with 1 L, Schultz, SCHULTZ. And you can PM me. You need to send me a message, or I'm not going to friend you back, because that would just be strange. But you can follow there. I may look at starting a group page for this page. because I'm thinking that might be a nice way so that people who want to follow, who do start learning about this, don't necessarily have to be on the personal page. I think that might make sense. But it's separate than the theater work stuff that I do, because I don't think those streams are going to cross as much as one might think. Disaster I adored. Yeah, I love Disaster. One of my favorites. And Christopher Walken in absolute epitome Christopher Walken fashion just makes me happy. Well, we are just at an hour and a half now. Yes, now. So I'm going to sign off unless you guys have any other questions. I'll give you like a minute for questions, for anything else you want to throw at me. And if not, I'm going to try to keep this going on Saturdays. So let me know in the comments or in the side if you prefer the 5 o'clock time or a 9 o'clock time. The people in the UK, if they jump in, they're not going to see this it was 3 a.m. I think for them. But if I go too much earlier, then the California coast people aren't necessarily going to find it. So I think you guys have all subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you enjoyed the thing, please send me a like, do a thumbs up on this, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll give you thank you, Mr. Drew. And I will see you guys next time, I guess. Last seconds, I'll give you, like I said, I give you a minute. You got another 30 seconds. Yeah. Because this was all your work, Drew. You did all of the effort on this. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Like I said, we'll talk topics, and I'll see you all next week. All right. Thank you so very much.